Welcome in, everyone. We've now seen every team in the top 5 European leagues play at least once, and this weekend we'll see some leagues heading into their third week while others are going into just their second. Now, our bets haven't paid off big, but we have been paying off, going 1-0 and 2-0 in the first couple weeks of European soccer play. And we're going to target 3 more small 3-game parlays this weekend to try to keep that trend going. Now, before we get started, be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more soccer picks all year long. Now, let's get into it. This first parlay is going to start on Friday and go into Saturday, and we're going to head over to France, and we'll start with the one game on Friday, and it's Nantes and Monaco. Now, we're 3 weeks into the Ligue 1 season, and Monaco has risen to the top of the table after scoring 7 goals in 2 games, beating Clermont Foot 4-2 on the road and Strasbourg 3-0 at home. They had also scored versus Bayern Munich and Arsenal in preseason games leading up to the season, so they've definitely been in a good scoring form. Nantes ended last season in 16th, and after 2 losses to start this season, they are right back in 16th in the short few weeks the season has seen. They lost 2-1 to Toulouse and 2-0 to Lille. They weren't much better in the preseason, where they won only 1 of their 5 games, for whatever that is worth. Now, outside of a win in the final match day of last season, Nantes' only win in their past that is their only win in their past 17 games. They're the last game of last season. They've also conceded a goal in 15 of their past 17 games. These teams tied at this venue last season 2-2, while Monaco won 4-2 at home. Monaco are the highest scorers this season in the league after 2 rounds, while Nantes have conceded multiple goals in each game. It's probably a Monaco win. Monaco could probably score multiple goals here. Monaco should surely score, though, so we'll start this parlay off with Monaco to score. And now we're going over to Spain, and it's Celta Vigo and Real Madrid. Celta have started this season with a 2-0 home loss to Osasuna and a 1-1 road draw to Sociedad. Going back into last season, they've now allowed a goal in 9 straight. They also only have 1 win in 9, and they've allowed a goal in 14 of 15 with only 2 wins in those 15 games. Madrid are playing in their 3rd straight road game, winning the first 2, 2-0 at Bilbao and 3-1 at Almeria. Madrid won 2-0 and 4-1 versus Vigo last season, and they've now won each of the last 6, outscoring Celta Vigo 18-5, while they haven't lost to them in 14 games, scoring in each of those games. Their last loss to Celta Vigo was way back in 2017 in the Copa del Rey, and their last La Liga loss was way back in 2014. Real Madrid probably does win this game, but they surely should at least get a goal. Let's go Real Madrid to score. And now we'll head over into Saturday, go over to the EPL, and it's Manchester United and Nottingham Forest. Now, it's a bit of a mediocre start for Ten Hag and Man U after 2 rounds. They beat Wolves 1-0 at home, and they lost 2-0 on the road to Spurs last week, but could have had a better result if not for some better finishing by Marcus Rashford. Now, perhaps Forest will be the tonic to kickstart Manchester United's season. Forest lost 2-1 to Arsenal this season before beating Sheffield 2-1 last week. But they were toothless against Manchester United last season. They lost 3-0 and 2-0 in the EPL. They also lost 2-0 and 3-0 in 2 cup games. So, for Manchester United, they were 4-0 against Forest last season, scoring 10 goals and conceding 0. Let's ride that trend again this year, especially when you consider Forest had just 1 road win on the season all last year. So we'll round out this parlay with a Man U win. So it's Man U win, Monaco to score, and Real Madrid to score at -137. Parlay number 2, this one will also split over Friday and Saturday this weekend. We're going to Germany now, and it's Red Bull Leipzig and Stuttgart. Bundesliga kicks off Friday with RBL hosting Stuttgart. There are only 10 games between these 2 teams in their short history all time, and Red Bull Leipzig are undefeated at 8-2-0, outscoring Stuttgart 18-3. Last year, the teams drew 1-1, and Leipzig won 2-1. Leipzig's games went over 1.5 85% of the time last season, while Stuttgart's went over 1.5 at 88% of the time. So both of these teams almost always saw 2 goals in their games. If you were looking at over 2.5, Leipzig had the second highest at 68% of their games, while Stuttgart had 66%. Stuttgart also saw the most games end with both teams to score last season at 25-9. They kept the fewest clean sheets at just 2 all season long, while Leipzig only failed to score in 6 games last season. They scored twice in week 1, but they still came up short 3-2 in their first game against Leverkusen. Meanwhile, Stuttgart came out flying last weekend. They thumped Bochum 5-0 with each of Surhu, Gerasi, and Silas scoring twice. Now, it's just 1 game, but Stuttgart have the highest XG in the Bundesliga after 1 round at 3.0 so far. History says Leipzig will win this game as they've never lost to Stuttgart. They also have the home field advantage in that coveted Friday night home game Both teams could also probably score in this game. You could maybe go over 2.5, but surely I see at least 2 goals in this game, one way or another. Marseille and Brest will go over back to the French League. When these teams met last season, Marseille won 2-1, and there was a 1-1 draw as well. Overall, the past 7 score lines between them have read 2-1, 1-1, 4-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, and 2-1. Both teams are off to good starts this season, with Marseille winning 2-1 over Reims and drawing Metz 2-2. Marseille have the second most shot attempts so far with 36, only behind Rennes 38. Brest beat Lens 3-2 and Le Havre 2-1. Brest have the third highest XG through 2 weeks at 3.6. So Brest games so far have averaged 4.0 goals per match, while Marseille's have averaged 3.5. I think you can see where I'm going here. This looks like another match with goals. You might be able to bet both teams to score on its own. I will just go for over 1.5, and we will round out this parlay back in Germany, and it's Gladbach and Leverkusen. This Rhineland derby has some extra spice to it, as Jonas Hoffmann has spent 7 years with Gladbach. He's decided to switch sides, and he's joined Leverkusen this offseason. Hoffmann had 48 goals and 51 assists in his over 200 games with Gladbach. Last year, Leverkusen won 3-2. The teams also drew 2-2 in the second meeting. Leverkusen got the best, has been getting the best of their rivals recently, with wins of 2-1, 4-0, 1-0, 4-3, and 3-1 in the 5 previous meetings between them. If you were betting over 2.5, you would have gone 7-1 in those past 8 meetings as well between these teams. Both teams started the season with wild goal fests. Leverkusen won 3-2 over Leipzig, and Gladbach drew 4-4 with Augsburg. Thomas Sivankara finished the game with a brace. He's one of 6 players who had multiple goals in week 1 in the Bundesliga. This game probably looks like a both teams to score and over 2.5 if you wanted to bet it by itself. I would just go both teams to score and tie that into over 1.5 with Marseille and Brest, and Leipzig and Stuttgart also over 1.5 for plus 119 odds over at Caesars. And the final parlay of the 3, this one will go down on Sunday with 3 games, and we're going back to England here. It's Sheffield United and Manchester City. There's no Pep on the sidelines as he's having back surgery this week. Luckily, Manchester City are only going to be facing Sheffield, one of the newly promoted teams, and they've already lost 1-0 to Palace and 2-1 to Forest. The newly promoted side lost many of their players from last season and many of the players who scored goals last season. So far, they have the second lowest XG at 1.0, the third lowest shots at 15, and the third lowest shots on target with just 4. They've also allowed the second most shots, 40, and the third most shots on target, 12. That's bad news against Manchester City, obviously, who are the current champions. They have the third most shots on target. They've already beaten another newly promoted team on the road, being Burnley, winning 3-0. They also just beat Newcastle, a top 4 team from last season, 1-0. Surely City will get plenty of chances in this game and should get the win. The next game, also in the EPL, and it's one of the best games probably this weekend across any of the major leagues, and it's Newcastle hosting Liverpool. This is one of the games of the weekend. Liverpool won both games last season 2-1 and 2-0, but it was Newcastle who finished just ahead of Liverpool, being 4th compared to Liverpool's 5th. Liverpool came out with a 1-1 draw to Chelsea to start this season and a 3-1 win over Bournemouth, and they have now gone 8-5-0 in their past 13 EPL games going back into last season. They've scored in each of their past 12 games, but they've also conceded a goal in 9 of those 13. Newcastle smacked Villa 5-1 in week 1, but they came up just short to the champs, losing 1-0 to Manchester City. Newcastle only failed to score 11 times last season, while Liverpool only failed to score 8 times last season. As good as Newcastle was, though, they have conceded a goal in 18 of their past 20 games, going back into last season. So this game, it could be very exciting. We could very easily see goals coming from both teams to score being an option there. If I had to pick a winner, I'd lean to the home team, Newcastle, right now. But certainly, I think Newcastle can at least get on the score sheet and score at least 1. Then, the last leg will be Strasbourg and Toulouse. In the French League, Strasbourg have 3 points after 2 games with a 2-1 win over Lyon and a 3-0 loss to Monaco. Toulouse have 4 points after a 2-1 win over Nantes and a 1-1 draw with PSG last week. Since both teams have been in Ligue 1 since 2017, only once in 9 games have there been fewer than 2 goals scored. Both teams to score bets are 8-1. Both teams to score an over 2.5 bets are also 7-2. Now that cashed in both meetings last season when these teams played, as they drew 2-2 and Toulouse won 2-1. Going back into last season, Strasbourg has seen 14 straight games go over 1.5 goals, so that's at least 2 goals or more in a game. They had scored in 13 straight games prior to their shutout loss last week when they lost 3-0. Now, oddly, those numbers are very similar if you just look at their home games, which is where they'll be playing this week. If you just look at the home games, Strasbourg only failed to score at home once in their past 14 games. Their home games have gone over 1.5 in 18 of 20 games, dating back all the way to last summer. Toulouse has only gone over 1.5 in 9 of their past 14 games, but still, that's a good number. If you go back and looking back into last season, those 5 games where they didn't, they were all clustered together. There was a stretch of 5 games in a row where they didn't do that. But away from home, 19 of their past 22 games have also seen 2 or more goals. Their past 4 scores have been 1-1, 2-1, 2-1, and 1-1. This game looks like it could be a close one, perhaps a both teams to score, maybe a 1-1 draw. I will just go over 1.5. So let's go Strasbourg to lose over 1.5, Newcastle to score, and Manchester City to win, coming in at minus 149. There you go. Hopefully I've given you some useful tips for these 9 games this weekend that I just covered. And let me know what your picks are in any of the big leagues or any league at all in the comments below in this video. And if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more soccer picks. There will be more MLS picks coming up in another video very soon. Good luck, everybody, with your weekend picks across all the top soccer leagues.